The Hidden Hindu, Book 1 of the Trilogy by Akshat Gupta, Chapter 9, Yesteryear's Now. The next session was now to begin. As everyone settled, Shahishta started the negotiation again. What other roles have you been playing apart from Shushan in all these years? A rapid series of places and faces depicting various events flashed on the screen. The person on the screen wore different traditional dresses, and the places portrayed different centuries and eras, but the face of the man was never changing, not even slightly. Om had scrunched up his eyes as he remembered all of his life and reflected expressions of fear, uncertainty, happiness, calmness, excitement, surprise, and guilt. His eyes watered then as something unpleasant passed through his head. He opened his eyes then to reveal they had gone blood red. As he did so, the images disappeared from the screen. He seemed hurt and terrified when he realized they were all looking at him. He controlled himself and calmed down instantly. However, he was distressed by the fact that his life was being watched like a motion picture by strangers, and the secret would soon be known to them. Everyone in the room saw unidentifiable visuals on the screen, but could easily make out three faces. The first, beautiful and elegant, which was engraved in Om's memories clearly, was that of a lady. This face was the basis of all hassle Om underwent. She could be often seen in distinct outfits too. One mark of contrast between the woman and Om was that he never ever appeared to be old, whereas she was projected in every age, as a teenager, as an adolescent, as a mature lady, and as an old woman. The lady's lifeless body was projected as being in 3 different ages, accompanied by Om in 3 different attires. When she was seen as being dead for the 3rd time, Om opened his eyes. The second face that appeared repeatedly was that of a man with a strong build, carrying a bow and numerous arrows, and an axe-like weapon called parashu. Apart from some other ancient massive weapons, the third visage was also a strong one. His expression was full of rage, and he seemed ready to combat anything with no sense of fear. "Who are they?" asked LSD. "Pashwarma and Athawama, 2 of the immortals of our mythology," said Abhilash. "2?" exclaimed LSD in disbelief. "There are 7 immortals in the Hindu mythology. There are 5 others beside those 2, replied Abhilash, still looking at the screen. "Who are they?" asked LSD again. While a series of unrelated visuals kept changing on the screen, making no sense, Abhilash continued speaking to LSD and looking at the screen to find some relevance and connectivity to his wisdom. "The other immortals are King Bali, after the arrogance of Zura King Mahabali. He was crushed by the Vamana avatar of Lord Vishnu and was sent to live in Patal Loka. But Bali was allowed to come to Earth once a year. That day is celebrated as Onaman in Kerala. Vibhishan, the younger brother of Ravana, Vibhishan helped Lord Ram, who blessed him with immortality. Rajasthan's town of Kota has a temple dedicated to Vibhishan. It is the only such temple in India. Vedvyas, the writer of Mahabharata, Vedvyas is also immortal. Kripakara, the guru of the Kauravas and Pandavas, and lastly, Lord Hanuman, the immortal who protects his devotee in Kali Yuga. All were astounded to see the events unfolding before them, except Shahista. In her experience performing hypnotism, she had seen patients in an even higher degree of distress than Om, so none of it came as a shock to her. She kept one hand on Om's hand to soothe and calm him. A blurred image occupied the screen and got clearer every moment. The Om now being projected was a bald one, with only a typical Brahmin lock of hair. Lord Vishnu's sign, a U, appeared on the man's forehead. He wore a simple white stole and a dhoti, a traditional garment worn in ancient times. Om began. I was the chief advisor to Chandragupta Maurya, one of the most important members of his council. I was also a good friend to him. I advised him in his personal and political affairs apart from the issues of our welfare. I was also known by the name Chanakya. As Om uttered this, the snapshot on the screen became clear, and they realized that it was Chanakya himself without a second of doubt. Primo was calculating something as Om spoke. As they finished, he took a piece of paper, stood up, and walked across the room to Dr. Batra. The heading on the page said, "The time gap between the lives of Sachin and Chaka and the period between Chaka's era and the present day." Dr. Batra, after pondering over it for a while, said, "That is what I'm saying. Impossible, unbelievable." Then he stood up and took the page to Dr. Srivatsan. Dr. Srivatsan had a close look at the paper, on which was scribbled in a nearly illegible hand, Shashan at 7,292 BC, Chanakya at 321 BC, a time lapse of 6,971 years. Chanka at 321 BC to present day 2017, a time lapse of 2,338 years. Shashan 7,292 BC to present day 2017, a total time lapse of 9,309 years. He managed to comprehend it and stood up with a sigh. "Continue the interrogation. Do not wait for me," he said, looking at Shahista's direction. Meanwhile, LSD was lost in digging out meaning from the map with the help of her gadgets by locating and connecting the map and using the ancient codes, rotating in all directions. It was evident from her curiosity and expressions that she was just a shuffle away from decoding the place the map depicted. This would be another real breakthrough for the team. In the woods, the man took out a device from his bag and split it into 4 portions. The 4 independent devices, after being set free on the land, rolled into 4 different directions and placed themselves near the 4 corners of a nearby building. The man then pressed a button on his tablet, and a 3D image of the building appeared on the tablet. The image was obstructed by red dots moving here and there, which were people. The man could now keep an eye on each person entering and leaving the establishment. With the piece of paper stating just a part of Om's total lifespan, Dr. Srivatsan walked the corridor confused and disoriented. He soon stood a beast and heavy glass door and flashed his ID. The door slid open and let him in. After a short while, he found himself in front of another door being watched over by a couple of guards. The door opened only after the retina scan of Dr. Srivatsan. The doors parted and let him in. Inside the laboratory, Shahista was saying, "Do you even realize the meaning of what you narrated? You are trying to convince us that you were alive." She was interrupted by Om. "In Treta Yuga, and you were also alive in Chandragupta Maurya's reign. In the Kali Yuga, I'm still alive, and I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything." Shahista took a deep breath and replied patiently, "Om, all these periods add up to a total of thousands of years. You want us to believe that you have been alive since the time of Ramayana and Mahabharata? I've been alive since the Satya Yuga, through the Treta Yuga, the Dwapara Yuga, and now I'm in front of you in the Kali Yuga." Om replied with a heavenly grin. Abhilash was keenly listening to Om. He interrupted, "Who are you in the Dwapara Yuga?" Om looked at him and then back at Shahishtra before closing his eyes and said, "I had many names in history, but one of them that belonged to the Dwapara Yuga was Vidur." The image on the screen provided the proof that Om's words were in fact simply stated. Om appeared in a rich outfit, embellished in golden ornaments, and hung low on his chest and a golden crown to add to his majesty. He stood beside a seemingly blind man who appeared to be sitting on the king's seat beside a blindfolded woman, presumably the queen. The blind king and the blindfolded queen were King Dhritarashtra and his wife King Dhritarashtra and his wife Queen Gandhari, and his parents of the Kavaras. Vidur, the stepbrother of King Dhritarashtra and Queen Gandhara, Gandhara, Abhilash explained. Abhilash bowed his head, joined his hands in respect, and questioned humbly, which means you have really met Lord Krishna. Did he actually stay at your house in Dwapara Yuga? Shahista continued before Om could react to the remark. Since when have you been alive? Tell us all that you remember and have been through. Om took a deep breath, and Shahista sensed his hopelessness in it. He knew he was trapped and couldn't do much about it, so he started.